Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel. And let me know as soon as you hear my voice. And as I'm waiting to get confirmation that we're connected, I'm really excited about tomorrow's show, because tomorrow's show will be your opportunity to come forward into the chat. It's going to be a spam day on Tuesday tomorrow, to where you can copy and keep pasting your experience about the people you know that have taken the VC and what kind of effects that you've noticed after that has happened. Now, this will be open to anything. So any effects that you feel that you've seen, lethargy, any of these kinds of things. But what we're really looking for is adverse reactions, things that have happened that are outside the ordinary, hospitalizations. This could be you or people that you know. So copy, again, tomorrow when we come onto the show at this time, I want you to copy your chat comment and then paste it at least a few times so that I could read through them and share some of those stories with everybody else, so we can get a true idea of what's really going on. And so the way that'll go down is this will be a record. Hopefully we'll get 1,000 people watching or more, and we can get a true percentage of people who have experienced these events, because right now they want us to believe that this is limited to 6 people in 7 million. And I just don't believe those numbers. I think it's highly underreported. So today, what are we here to do today? We're going to break down this montage that I uploaded last week. This is the new film called Voyagers. And I'm going to try to do a better job of naming the films that I'm actually covering. Most of the time I will put those film titles in the title of the decode that I'm doing. So if the first question in your mind is, what is this film that you're decoding? Just look in the title and that should tell you what is being decoded. I'm going to make an extra effort to make sure I put the titles in my decode titles. But this is the new film with the Lily Rose Depp. And I call her the Dark Lord. Why do I call her that? Because her initials are LRD, Lord. And she has some very satanic associations with some people, including her father, of course. And then there's also this guy. His name is Karl Lagerfeld. And he is a very dark dude. He's one of the icons in the fashion industry. And he's always got these crazy looking pins, right? This is a 6-pointed star with like some kind of flower coming out of it. And he wears gloves, a very eccentric fellow. But from the time Lily Rose Depp was young, she was hanging out with this guy. You can see all these pictures with Karl Lagerfeld. And he's just a creepy dude. Now, there's more behind this guy. We're not here to really talk about him. But he is confirmed believer in the devil, even in his own belief systems that he admits to, when you look past all of this even. But I call her, Lily Rose Depp, the Dark Lord, because this is what's going on with her and her life. So what is this film about? Well, basically, the backdrop of the film is that the Earth is dying. And so Earth scientists devise a plan to seed other planets. And the way they're going to do that is with a multi-generational mission to this faraway planet. It takes 86 years to get there. And so the generation that they actually send in the spacecraft will not make it. They're only like a go-between. They're like the middleman. But they're asleep to this concept, and they're okay with it because they were raised by these scientists in an environment where they didn't have any real interaction. The life was intentionally made dull. They were put in these rooms to basically simulate what they would be like on a spaceship. So they didn't even know what the natural world looked like. And so this is the backdrop of this film, that these children that they put on the ship were only a means to an end. So what happens, they start waking up to this whole thing, because one of them discovers that they're being given this medication in a blue drink that takes away all their desire. And as you're going to see in a second here, the medication reads like what they would give people to change their genders. Now, as they come off the meds, the first thing they do is they kill their adult mentor. Colin Farrell plays their adult mentor. He's the guy who goes on the ship with them. They take him out. And then the whole film devolves into this good versus evil, as the teens split into these two factions, and one we're supposed to believe is good and one we're supposed to believe is evil. Now, this whole idea of seeding the universe comes out of what is known as the Panspermia cult. This is it right here. And what they want you to believe is that life was seeded across the universe by way of DNA, which ping-ponged across the universe on comets and asteroids. This is the deception. And this particular book here, The Cosmic Serpent, talks a little bit about this. Also talks about a common hallucination with people that take a certain root called ayahuasca. And in South America, the common hallucination is serpents. Sound familiar? Remember when God sent the fiery serpents to bite the Israelites to punish them? Well, this common hallucination is mentioned in this book. Now, here's the creepy thing about this whole thing about panspermia and cosmic serpents. That was a Freudian slip, because we're going to talk about comets, because there was a short film that was produced by none other than the ping pong owner. We're going to call him Ames Jalafantis. Now, here's the proof right here. These are the closing credits. There's his name. Can only leave this on the screen for a few seconds. But the film that he produced was called Chapel Perilous. Got it pulled up right here. And inside this short film that was 13 minutes long, they show the book The Cosmic Serpent. And at the end of this short film, this man grows horns like a demon. Now, you can't make any of this up. And to this day, Jalafantis has not even been properly investigated. And the media continues to deflect this whole pizza thing to make us all look stupid and like we're chasing some wild goose chase. But here it is. Now, I know a lot of people make horror movies and satanic films, but none of this is mentioned when they cover this man, that he was actually a producer, produced this film. But we covered this. Now, this never really took off in the truth community even. Our channel was a little bit too small to make an impact at that time when all this went down. But it was weird how none of the big channels really covered this whole Chapel Perilous thing. Now, what does Chapel Perilous mean? Here's where things get creepy, because this little short film that he did was named after Chapel Perilous. Now, this was all part of the Lancelot, mythology and all this, and King Arthur. And of course, all that links back into JFK. But basically, they talk about this Chapel Perilous and what it really means. It says here, Chapel Perilous is also a term referring to a psychological state in which an individual is uncertain whether some course of events was affected by a supernatural force or was a product of their own imagination. Now, what makes that creepy is this is the psyop that we all just went through. There's more. According to Wilson, being in this state leads the subject to become either paranoid or agnostic. In his opinion, this is no third way. The term Chapel Perilous was used by Antero Ali in his 1986 book, Angel Tech, A Modern Shaman's Guide to Reality Selection, which is based on Timothy Leary's 8-circuit model of consciousness. In Ali's book, Chapel Perilous is a rite of passage when moving between the 4 lower circuits of consciousness to the higher circuits. So, here's the film mentioned here. That was 2013, and all the other references to Chapel Perilous. So, what about this whole panspermia thing is so satanic? Well, it's the cornerstone of the deep space exploration myth. Because panspermia directly opposes the creation story. Now, let's look at the opening of this montage because it opens with Panspermia. Now, what I did here is I put the opening from the 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This was the opening credits because I wanted you guys to see the continuity between this theory or this film, Body Snatchers, and the Voyagers film, which is just another extension of it because they're sending these children, which represent the seed, moving forward, ping-ponging across the universe, right? Because Panspermia teaches that foreign germs can also come from outer space. And they teach that it is part of the natural evolution of life. And this whole theory has subtle overtones of survival of the fittest, the Darwinian theories. And it opens the door for people to submit to the serpent as just the stronger, the fittest survivor of nature.
The voyage there will take 86 years. So the crew will reproduce on board the ship, and their grandchildren will be the ones who reach the planet.
The active ingredient in daily beverage A.02. What effect? I thought it was just an enzyme for digestion. Eliminates sexual desire and sensation.
Now, let's break this down because what is this idea of the serpent invading our bodies, like in the Body Snatchers, that repeats over and over again? Well, this is the serpent in the chest. Now, we're going to see this again in another decode that I'm working on for another film called A Cure for Wellness. And we uploaded a montage on that over the weekend, and then we'll be able to look at that later in the week. But again, they show the same thing. This guy injects these serpents into the guy's chest. And what this really is we've been telling you guys over and over again, this is the serpent trying to combine himself with the seed of the woman, the serpent in the chest. It's demon possession. But the only way he could really do that effectively is to have our DNA dumbed down or cloned. Then demon possession is easier. So there's this blue drink that they give these teens that are on this ship. Now, of course, the blue drink is probably a metaphor for the fluoride in the water. And this, of course, is Fluoride Disclosure. And this is the water additive that for decades they shamed people who tried to expose it. They said we were all conspiracy theorists. But magically now they're starting to remove fluoride from any municipal water supplies because they know. And that's why you never just concede just because someone calls you crazy. Almost always, they later come out and concede that they were wrong. In fact, tomorrow's show will be all about how they're finally admitting to the vaccines that they're causing the clots. Whereas in the beginning, fact checkers were shaming people who made the claim and were deleting you off of social media posts. So we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to, like I said in the beginning of the show, we're going to also have you guys come forward and share any stories that you have of anything bad that's happened to you or somebody you know from getting the vaccine. Now you're going to notice here, back to this drink, this is the actual description of the drink. And like I said, it reads like some kind of gender altering substance. It talks about androgens and progestin. Progestin is a female hormone. Androgens are male, so this prevents androgens. It basically turns them into a female. what's going on here. Libido, okay, halts the development of libido, affects the gonads. And you're going to notice here it's 88% bioavailable. Now that's the number of the serpent. But the number 88 has also dual meaning. It can mean good or evil. In this case, obviously, it's evil.
Eliminates sexual desire and sensation. Decreased pleasure response. Decreased pleasure response? Personality becomes dull and docile. I want increased pleasure. So they can control us. Pacify us. They're drugging us. They don't want us to have sexual relations. So we don't feel what that feels like.
Now, the way that the conflict in this film plays out is just exactly like the way it always plays out, with the serpent accusing God. So who's correct in this story? Is it the boy who exposes the deception about the fluoride water by inventing a fake boogeyman, which is this boy over here? Or it's this boy over here who wants to excuse the deception and follow orders to complete the mission? And the answer is that neither are correct, because neither have faith in God's plan. They're trying to preserve life and losing it instead of losing life and preserving it. And therefore, they concede the spiritual plan of everlasting life, which stands apart from the material goals that we have here on earth, right? So both boys are incorrect. And this is what you get with the serpent in the realm of duality, in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
And so we don't overpopulate the ship. Conserve food. He's not taking the blue. Are you? Why would I? It's a drug. You're drugging us. It's the only way to deal with living like this. We didn't ask to be here. Nobody chooses what they're born into. Mission made a decision to administer medication to help with impulse control, to prevent exactly this kind of thing from happening. We have our rules that keep us in line. Deep down, maybe this is our true nature.
So what they do here is the bad boy, or what they want us to believe is the bad boy, he creates this boogeyman and he calls it an alien. He says, we've made alien contact. And he blames the death of their mentor on the ship. He blames that on a fictitious boogeyman. And this keeps everybody in fear. And it keeps him in power, because he keeps pulling the boogeyman card. Now, in our case, in our society, every 19 years they come out with a new boogeyman. 19 years ago, it was the Teeterists. And now, 19 years later, it's CV-19. And they're to the point now, and we're going to cover this a little bit in tomorrow's show, where it's exactly what we said was going to happen every single year now. They're talking about having an annual Vaca the Nation is where all this is headed. And I told you guys this is where it was headed because I used to work in the pharmaceutical industry, and this is a cash cow. This has become a cash cow for them now. And they'll simply make life very difficult and hard for anyone that doesn't comply. You'll be able to resist it, but for only so long. You're going to have to jump through hoops. Your life will be very different from the other people who do take it. And this is where everything is headed. So this is all about maintaining fear. Now, in a second here, you're going to see some clips from another film called Assimilate. And it's like a body snatchers type film. And this released just before the spamdemic in 2019. But yet, you're going to see themes of the spamdemic in this film.
No. The alien's somewhere in the ship. We'll fight it again if we have to, and we'll defeat it. You'll be safe now, because I'll protect you.
So this is Assimilate, and there was a little bit to report on this film. Not enough to do its own decode, so I'm going to kind of combine it with this other one that I'm doing. But basically, this is all about combining the two races into one. The serpent in the chest, the serpent in the human. And the serpent in the chest means multiple things. It could mean the serpent in the womb, because that's basically in your body cavity, in your chest. But it means so many other things as well. Now, the Bible talks about this. In the book of Daniel, it says, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but the two shall not cleave. And this is what it said would happen in the last days. So who is they? Who are they who want to mingle themselves with the seed of men? There's obviously something going on with that verse. Now, this Assimilate film, they show these twin pines. And of course, trees are people. Watch.
I don't know. I think we should post this stuff on our channel. I mean, Josh didn't believe us.
Lone Pine Mall, Twin Pine Mall. See how this works?
Maybe.
Nothing.
Now, here is, of course, the movie theater. And when you read this word strand frontwards and backwards, it says DNA and strand. DNA strand. This is how you know it's about the DNA.
You know, with the clone, it doesn't have any of the original memories, so it has to like find you and just take them. Well, maybe they bite you to get your DNA, and then they clone you.
It's okay to.
Maybe they just bite you to get your DNA and then they just clone you. And what all this is about is this serpent and how he infects you with this venom. The two fangs. It's with a bite. The two-fang bite. And this is a metaphor for the two Jabberwockies that you go get with the V-scene. Now, some people say, okay, see, well, the JJ one, you know, that Jabberwocky, that's only one shot. Well, it's encoded, because think about it. What is the JJ? It's really two fangs. Jab, jab.
You're just gonna feel a little pinch.
She tells the boy, you're just going to feel a little pinch. She sticks his hand in a cooler, which is more programming because this thing has to be kept cold, right? He sticks his hand in the cooler, and throughout the film, all of these little serpents that they hold in these coolers, they're all held in coolers. You can see them here in the background. They're all throughout the film. And everyone's carrying these coolers around. Hello? Is anybody awake? Sub-zero temperatures? The V-scene? I know you guys are awake. But it seems like only the 1,000 people that show up to this channel every day are the ones that are awake. It doesn't ever grow. More people don't ever wake up. So, he puts his hand inside the cooler with the serpent. That's the Jabberwocky.
See? Now that wasn't so bad. And now I'll love you even more.
And now I'll love you even more. So, they're coming for the children next. We did a show on that. It got flagged by YouTube. Of course, they don't want you to know that. But all the major pharma companies are doing studies on children. They're actually giving it to children right now. 6 months old. On the heels of everything that's going on right now with these problems with the BLOOD. So that is the decode for those two films, Assimilate and Voyagers. So we'll be back tomorrow with Fact Checkers Lied, People Died. We're talking about how anybody who was bringing this problem to people's attention early We were all discredited by the fact checkers. And now, of course, the medical establishment is admitting the connection. The problem is that people that would have known the risk sooner may not have opted to get the Jabberwocky. I don't care how small the risk is. Now, let me give you an example for people that are having a tough time with this. If you knew that a particular engine on a plane was prone to fire and that the airlines knew it and tried to hide it, and one of your family members died in an airline accident, would you be able to sue them? Of course you would. If you could prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that they knew the risk or that people tried to warn them and were silenced by the company, you could sue and get millions because they hid the fact that the engine caught fire. It doesn't matter how minutely it increased the odds of dying from that engine. It was still increasing the risk. And the vaccines are no different. If they shut down people who were trying to tell people and people died as a result of that, they are liable. Especially since they're trying to force this on people, making it mandatory for different schools and employers and going places. Or it could be possibly required to travel because people deserve to know all the risks. And they should be able to post how they feel about these things on social media without being censored. So we're going to try that tomorrow. We're going to do it in the chat. We're not going to make any claims. We're just going to hear your opinions and the things that you've experienced or people that you love after they got the Jabberwocky. So that will be tomorrow's show. So let's go into the chat here. I know it's Monday. Everybody's probably sleeping. Was it a holiday weekend? Hey, Tommy, Pie Lover, Robert. Okay. Yeah, people are starting to get hesitant about the vaca scene. Okay. And they see this, the thing about the media is they're so obvious. They obviously have an agenda. They don't care about differing viewpoints and opinions. They don't care. They simply don't. They feel like their main job is to get as many people as possible to get this thing. And that right there exposes it for what it is, because I thought we live in a country where you can have an opinion about things. In May, Green Pass begins in Finland and Estonia, says 7 Grains. Wow. Is that where you can't go anywhere unless you have it? All right. Yeah, I would think that it would be met with resistance, but it seems like they're doing it so slowly and incrementally that basically it's just not enough people are standing up in the way that they need to stand up. People are just going along. A lot of people are just going along just so they could go back to normal life and not be harassed. So, all right. See, how long have we been on here? The other day, they basically delayed the start of the show. And then when I ended the show, it ended at like 33 minutes. I didn't do that intentionally, obviously. But now I like to check to make sure we're not ending the show on 33 minutes. Because that's not good. Because that's like, how long have we been on here anyway? Usually says right here. Concurrent viewers. Oh, let me scroll down a little bit. All right. Well, we'll be back on here tomorrow. I love you guys. And have a great day, everyone.